Good morning, friends. A very good morning to all of you. I know it's a breezy and a rainy day today, and it's very tough for you to wake up and sit in the morning for the classes as well. Yes, don't worry. We'll progress through these two legislations and we'll be finishing off with the business law revision part by today. I hope you have learned Companies Act and Limited Liability Partnership, which goes as the agenda for this day. Now, first, before we go into the topic, let us understand what are the recent amendments which has come under the Companies Act 2013, and let us understand what are the changes made through in it. The first change which has been made is with regard to the meaning of the term resident director. So when I take up with this term resident director, please understand, friends, a person is said to be a resident director if he is a resident in India who is stayed for a period of not less than 182 days during the immediately preceding financial year. Okay, who has stayed in India not less than 182 days. Sir, what is the significance behind this 182 days? Yes, can someone ask, can someone say?
182 days is half year.
Half, it's almost like a 6 months calculation.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct? So, when you come up with the term resident director, I say such person should have stayed in India for not less than 182 days. Okay, not less than 182 days in the immediately preceding. So this is something which is very, very important, friends. When you take up with this point, okay, I'm stressing upon on the immediately preceding. So look forward for the immediately preceding financial year. Okay, look for the date of the immediately preceding financial year. So this is something which is very, very important. A company to have a board of directors has been mentioned under section 149 of your Companies Act. Okay, so it's a very, very interesting topic, friends. It says, look, whenever you are going ahead with a company, have one director as a resident, number one. Number two, whenever you are starting up a company, please ensure that the director, okay, is at least available for the operations, which means at least one director. Now, what was the change which was made? See, I'm putting it to you very, very clearly, friends. Previously, okay, this provision had a word in the previous calendar year. Sir, there is a difference between calendar year and financial year. Okay, now it is changed to financial year. This is what the change is. Clear? Right? So I need to have a director, and such director should be appointed in the general meeting of the company. Now I told you appointment of director can only happen in a general meeting. Suppose if I want to appoint a director in a board meeting, can I appoint? I cannot appoint a director in a board meeting. However, I can appoint an additional director in a board meeting, but the tenure of the additional director will only be until the completion of the next annual general meeting. So, until the next AGM, he can hold himself as an additional director. The moment the AGM is convened and when it comes to an end, his position of additional director ceases. So if such person wants to continue as a director, then he has no choice other than to go ahead and regularize him as a director in the annual general meeting. In the annual general meeting, appoint him as a director. Only then he can continue his office of directorship. So please understand this, friends. A director can be appointed only in a general meeting. However, an additional director can be appointed in a board meeting. The tenure of the additional director will be only until the completion of the next annual general meeting. Clear? Right. So the next revision was in the definition of small company. Sir, first when you take up the definition of small company, exclude the companies which are not classified as small company expressly by this definition. You have to remember the definition of the term small company because it's very, very important. But I will first ask you to remember the exclusions. Now, when you take up this definition, what are the exclusions? Other than a public company. So, a public company is not a small company. Clear? Right? A public company is not a small company. Next, if a holding and subsidiary relationship exists, if a holding and a subsidiary relationship exists, then such company is not a small company. Section 8 company. Section 8 company is not a small company. A company or a body corporate governed under any special act. Now, for example, if you take up Company Secretaries Institute, Chartered Accountants Institute, Cost Accountants Institutes, all these things are governed by statutory legislation. If you go to the web page, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, kira bracket la potrupanga, enacted by a special act in the parliament. So these are entities which are governed by special legislations. So public company will be excluded. Any holding and subsidiary relationship will be excluded. Section 8 will be excluded. Or any company or body corporate which is governed under special act is excluded. These four stuffs do not cover with the definition of the term small company. However, I will call a company to be a small company if the paid up share capital of the company does not exceed 50 lakh rupees or such other amount as may be prescribed but shall not be more than 10 crores and turnover of which per profit and loss account on the immediately preceding financial year does not exceed 2 crore rupees or such other amount as may be prescribed but shall not exceed 100 crore rupees. Okay, so this is something which is very, very important, friends. I expect you to remember the definition of a small company. Remembering the definition of a small company is very, very important because when you take up with this definition, okay, I require you to know the exclusions. First, you should know what the exclusions are. Then you should know which are the companies which are covered. So, public company will not be a small company. Section 8 company will not be a small company. Only you can classify a OPC or a private limited company. OPC is deemed private. So, if you want to call something to be a small company, then it should not be a public company. Paid up share capital should be less than 50 lakhs, not more than 50 lakhs. And its turnover in the immediately preceding financial year should not exceed 2 crores. Clear, friends? Yes, I hope you are clear with this. Please read through the definition of the term small company which is displayed on screen. Your definition of the term small company is displayed on screen. I want you to read the definition of the small company, friends. I hope you have completed, friends. Now let me tell you where the change has come upon. Okay. Now when you take up with this definition, okay, small company, it says the profit and loss account for the immediately preceding financial year does not exceed 2 crore rupees. Okay. Earlier, it was as per the last profit and loss account. But now it is changed to immediately preceding financial year. Clear, friends? Yes. So, this is where there is a change in the definition. Clear, friends? I hope you are clear with section 2 subsection 85 which speaks on the definition of the term small company. Of course, okay, there is one more thing which you will have to take through is the threshold limit, the higher threshold limit or such other amount as may be prescribed, which shall not be more than 100 crore rupees. This is increased. Earlier it was 20 crores. Okay, earlier it was 20 crores. Now it is increased to 100 crore rupees. Clear? So these are the two changes which has gone predominantly in this definition. Coming up with the next one is with regard to section 2 subsection 87, which speaks on the subsidiary company. Now a subsidiary company, whenever I take up with the term subsidiary company in relation to another company, that is to say a holding company, means a company in which the holding company controls the composition of the board of directors, controls the composition of the board of directors, or exercises or controls more than half of the total voting power, half of the total voting power, either at its own or together with one or more of its subsidiary company. So which means, say for example, there is a company A, ABC Private Limited. The share capital of ABC Private Limited is held 99% by XYZ Limited. Now XYZ Limited will be called as the holding company and ABC Private Limited will be called as the subsidiary company, which means more than one half of the total voting power is held by a company. Okay, so such company will be termed as a holding company, and now here the example which I gave you, ABC Private Limited, will be termed as a subsidiary company. Okay, now for this explanation, please understand a company shall be deemed to be a subsidiary company of the holding company if it controls, as referred, the composition of the board of directors shall be deemed to be controlled by another company if the other company by exercise does some power exercisable by its discretion can appoint or remove the majority of the directors. So I have a control. Now the term here company includes the term body corporate. Okay, here layer in relation to a holding company means it's subsidiary or subsidiaries. So a company may have more than one subsidiaries also. That is also allowed. So I refer to here the subsidiary or the subsidiaries. Okay, here what is the change? For total voting power, okay, for total voting power, total share capital has been substituted. I'll show you that. Sorry, here total voting power. Okay, instead of total share capital, it is taken up with total voting. One second, friends. Yeah, instead of total share capital, total voting power has been replaced. Correct. Sorry, I just checked it out. Instead of total share capital, total voting power has been substituted. Okay, and please also understand, friends, this is a major change with regard to section 2 subsection 87. Apart from this, there are not much of change. So you need to understand that here the total voting power was earlier total share capital. Now it has been changed to total voting power. Okay, in case of small company, initially it was the last profit and loss account, but now here it is said immediately preceding financial year, and the threshold limit, the upper threshold limit was 20 crore rupees. Now it is 100 crore rupees. Okay, and in case of resident director, immediately preceding financial year, earlier it was calendar year. So these are the recent amendments which has happened on the Basics of Companies Act. Then coming up with the definition of meaning of Nidhi company and definition of government company. In case of a Nidhi company, means a company which the central government may by notification in the official gazette declare Nidhi or mutual benefits, as the case may be. So this is a very simple change. So they have said whatever we declare in the office through the official gazette to be a Nidhi or a mutual benefit society, as the case may be, will be classified as a Nidhi company. So explanation added to the definition of the term government company. So whenever you read the definition of the term government company, an explanation has also been added which says, for the purpose of this clause, Paid up share capital shall be constructed as total voting power where shares with differential voting rights have been issued. So I don't want you to confuse with differential voting rights. But see, these two amendments, you can just like that close your eyes and leave it, because chances of testing in these amendments are very, very low. Differential voting rights na enna you don't have in your foundation syllabus itself, number one. Number two, you will be reading about this in your intel level. So at this point of time, it is not required to know what a differential voting power is, but just understand that there has been an explanation which is added to the definition of the term government company. Nidhi company meaning has been explained, and these three amendments, whichever has been given, it's very, very important for you to remember. Resident director, change in the definition of the term small company, and change in the definition of the term subsidiary company. I expect you to remember the amendments which has happened out, friends. Clear? Right? So this is with regard to the amendments which has happened. I hope you're clear with this. So we are going up with some of the questions with regard to LLP and Companies Act. Let me first finish off Companies Act, then I will come up with the LLP. Okay, first we'll finish off with Companies Act and then we'll come up with LLP. Mr. Anil formed a one-person company on 16th of April 2018 for manufacturing electric cars. The turnover of the OPC for the financial year was 2.25 crores. His friend Sunil wanted to invest in his OPC, so they decided to convert it voluntarily into a private limited company. Can he do so? Yes, friends. Now come on, it's your time to answer. Go ahead, answer the question, please. Can I pick up? Where is my friend Harshit? Varliya Niki. Anirudh.
Yes, ma'am. I'm thinking, ma'am.
Think. Good. Keep thinking.
Ma'am,
Yes, Kana.
ma'am, we cannot do so, ma'am.
Why?
Ma'am, because if one person company cannot convert voluntarily into any kind of company unless 2 years ahead have expired.
Okay. Then?
And
So you mean to say 2 years have not expired. So
yes,
you cannot convert.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other answers? Any other answer, friends?
Ma'am,
Yes, Kanna. Go ahead.
for a private company, there should be 7 members, right?
Private 2.
Huh?
Private 2 da. Engada 7. 7 public.
Sorry, my bad.
Now answer for this question. இதை கேட்டா private limited கேட்டுட்டு இருக்க நீனு. Shashank.
Yeah, ma'am.
இந்த கொஸ்டினுக்கு என்ன ஆன்சர்? 13th கொஸ்டினுக்கு ஆன்சரை சொல்லவும்.
யோசிக்கிறேன் மேம். Just a minute.
Anyone else? Let me pick up someone page. நானா pick up பண்ணாதான் உண்டு. Sanjana. Sanjana, unmute yourself and please answer. Vishnu Prasad, come on, answer the question. Shashank. See Shashank.
Ma'am, thinking, ma'am.
என்னடா இதுல யோசிக்க இவ்வளவு நேரம் இருக்கு? கொஸ்டினை பார்த்த உடனே ஆன்சர் சொல்ல வேண்டாமா? Friends, hammer this in your mind, okay? Even though 2 years have not expired from the date of incorporation, since the average annual turnover has exceeded 2 crores for an OPC conversion, okay, you can convert an OPC into a private limited company if your paid up share capital is increasing above 50 lakhs or your average annual turnover is exceeding 2 crores. Okay, voluntary conversion you have to wait for 2 years from the date of incorporation. However, in case of a voluntary conversion also, within the period of 2 years from the date of incorporation, if your turnover or your paid up capital is exceeding the limit, threshold limit as specified, which means paid up capital is increasing beyond 50 lakhs and turnover is exceeding beyond 2 crores, you have to mandatorily convert the OPC into a private company. Clear? In this case, Anil can convert. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Explain clearly the doctrine of indoor management as applicable in cases of company. Explain the circumstances in which outsider dealing with the company cannot claim relief on any ground of indoor management. You have to explain the doctrine of indoor management along with Royal British Bank versus Turkan case. Exceptions in case of the knowledge of irregularity, suspicion of irregularity, forgery. All these 3 exceptions should also be explained. Only then the answer for this question will be complete. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So we are going on with the next one. With regard to Companies Act, I'm posting up the next question. Look, Flora and Fauna Limited was registered as a public company. There are 230 members, okay, in the company as noted below. Directors, employees, ex-employees, 5 couples holding shares jointly in the name of husband and wife, others. Okay, so there are 230 members and Flora and Fauna Limited means it is a public company. Adliye therinjirthu idela vandu nee sollave vaanda public company nu. Flora and Fauna Limited nu sonale it's a public company. Public limited company, is there a threshold for maximum number of members? No. But however, look at this. The board of directors of the company proposed to convert it into a private limited company. Okay, advise whether reduction of members is required. Now in case of this, you have to know what is the definition of a private limited company. When I taught you private limited company, umpty number of times I would have taught you what a private limited company is. The private limited company is a company in which there is a restriction on the transfer of shares, prohibition for invitation of securities from the public, okay, and it limits the number of members to 200. However, in case of the number of members of 200 calculation, joint shareholders, okay, will be treated as 1. Okay, 2 persons holding shares jointly will be counted as 1, and ex-employees will not be counted for the purpose. So in this case, look at this. Directors 190, employees are 15. Okay, so when you take up the definition of the term private limited company, then you have something called as ex-employees. Now ex-employees, how many employees are there? Answer me.
10, ma'am.
10. So 10 employees are there. When you have 10 employees, will they be counted for the purpose? No. Couples holding the shares jointly, how many are there?
5.
5. But 5 into 2, they have given a count as 10. Ana நான் என்ன சொல்றேன், if the person are holding shares jointly, they shall, for the purpose of counting, will be treated as a single member. Okay, number 1. Next, employees, will they be counted? They will not be counted. So employees will not be counted, ex-employees will not be counted, couples will be treated as 1. So 15 and 10 kadayadu. In the 10, the third 10 is only 5. This is only 5. So 190 plus 5, 195. Others 5, it is 200. So is there a requirement in the reduction of members? No, reduction of members is not required. Clear, friends?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
Can
how
we
many
check?
marks will these questions come for?
It will usually come for 4 to 5 marks. Kanna. Kandipa ஒரு நிமிஷம்
Okay.
I show you the answer itself. We'll discuss the answers today. That is, see, இப்படிதான் கம்பெனி லா கத்துக்கணும். சும்மா கம்பெனி லா நான் திருப்பி உங்களுக்கு வந்து ப்ரொவிஷன் சொல்லி கொடுத்து there is no use. Okay, wait, let me show. Yeah, look at this question. This is how the answer they have given. Section 2, subsection 68. So I told you, you should know the definition of the term private limited company. Friends, please understand, as a part of your revision, 3 definitions you should remember by heart. Number 1, OPC. 4 definitions. Number 1 is OPC. Number 2 is subsidiary company. Number 3 is small company. Number 4 is private company. In the 4 definition, you have to remember. If you have a notebook or if you have your workbook, please note it down. You have to remember the definition of OPC, subsidiary company, small company, and private limited company. Okay, in case of OPC, when conversion, and the voluntary conversion, mandatory conversion, that part you should know. And you should also know that in case of a voluntary conversion, okay, 2 years of waiting period from the date of incorporation is necessary. But mandatory conversion or a threshold you should know. 50 lakhs in case of a paid up share capital, or average annual turnover is exceeding 2 crores. If either of this thing happens, then OPC shall mandatorily convert into a private limited company or any other firm, but 2 years of waiting period will not be applicable. That also you should know. Now look at this private limited company definitions. Okay, limits the number of members to 200. So 200 is a threshold limit which is being given out. However, if 2 or more persons are holding the shares jointly, they shall, for the purpose of this clause, be treated as a single member. Sir, இது எங்க இருக்குன்னா definitionல இருக்கு. Only if you by heart the definition, you can answer this question. Only if you remember the definition, you can answer the question. So it also provides that persons who are in employment and who have been in formerly employment shall not be included. So in this case, if Flora and Fauna wants to convert, the number of members should be 200. Okay, therefore there is no need in reduction of members. So directors 190, couples வந்து questionல 10 கொடுத்திருந்தான், ஆனா 2 பேர் ஜாயிண்டா இருந்தா I am counting as 1. So 5, others 5, total 200. There is no requirement in the reduction on the maximum number of members. Clear, friends? புரிஞ்சுதா?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's go out with the next one. F, an SSC, was wealthy man earning a huge income by way of dividend and interest. He formed 3 private limited companies and agreed with each to hold a block of investment as an agent for them. The dividend and interest income received by the company was handed back to F as a pretended loan. This way, F divided his income into 3 parts to reduce his tax liability. Discuss whether the purpose for which the company is established is legal. Yes, friends?
Ma'am, the companies were formed to protect the tax liabilities, and the corporate weight should be lifted by the court to find out who is in the control of the affairs of the company.
So here, is the company formed for a legal purpose? No. So I will not regard this company as a separate legal entity. Lifting of corporate wheel will happen. Okay, let us see what the answer they have given up also, friends. You are right, lifting of corporate wheel, but you are supposed to quote a case law name. Dinsha Manekji patent. ஞாபகம் இருக்கா? The back.
Ma'am, that SSC is holding a rich man is holding a property, then that one case, ma'am.
Dinsha Manekji patent, one person will form 4 private limited companies, and to avoid income, he will invest on these 4 companies, and those companies will give the money back to him as pretended loan. Same Dinsha Manekji patent case only.
Ma'am, if you don't remember this case names,
That's
then
okay,
is
but
okay.
here I'm telling you, you are now remembering it. Strike ஆகணும், அதுதான் ரொம்ப ரொம்ப important. The moment you see a question, you have to strike. Your mind has to strike with the case law name.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, that's very very important கண்ணம்மா. கொஞ்சம் கேஸ், அதனால தான் நான் சொல்றேன் செக்ஷன் நம்பர் ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்காதீங்க, கேஸ் லா பேர் ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கோங்க. Okay, yes. Can a non-profit organization be registered as a company under section can a non-profit organization be registered as a company under Companies Act? If so, what is the procedure we have to adopt? This is not-for-profit organization can be formed under section 8 of the Companies Act. Section 8 incorporation. Section 8 is also called as a licensed company. You have to reserve the name, get the license, then file the incorporation documents, and then you will have to obtain the certificate of incorporation. Friends, please understand, section 8 company, they are not required to use the word limited or private limited to the back of its name. So look at this. Yes, non-profit organization can be registered under Companies Act and under the provisions of section 8. So what is the reason why section 8 is formed? But the section 8 companies cannot be classified as small companies. You can write that they intend to apply profits in promoting its objects, and they are prohibited from any payment of dividend to its members. This is very very important and an interesting point, friends. Okay, section 8 company is also called as a licensed company. I told you they are allowed to use they are allowed to use the name of the organization without the suffix of limited or private limited for the at the back of its name. Okay, so all about section 8 company you can write through. I think those answers are being clear enough. Now we are coming up with the next one. Oh, this is a question paper.
Ma'am, we can mention it as either section 8 company or not-for-profit organization.
பண்ணலாம் ஆனா செக்ஷன் 8ங்கற வார்த்தை இருக்கணும். ஏனா क्वेश्चनல என்ன கேட்டிருக்கான் பாரு, can a non-profit organization be registered under Companies Act 2013 னு கேட்டிருக்கான். சோ கண்டிப்பா நீ செக்ஷன் 8 னா என்ன, செக்ஷன் 8 ஓட பர்பஸ் என்ன, இதெல்லாம் எழுதணும். செக்ஷன் 8 company is also called as a licensed company, அதுவும் எழுதணும் கண்ணா. Okay, look at this. Next question under Companies Act. Some of the creditors of Pharmaceutical Appliance Limited have complained that the company was formed by the promoters only to defraud the creditors and circumvent the compliance of legal provisions. In this context, they seek your advice as to the meaning of corporate veil and when the promoters can be made personally liable. You have to write the meaning of corporate veil and what are the circumstances when the lifting of corporate veil can happen. Avladhaan, straight question. Look at this. Next, explain doctrine of indoor management and its exceptions. So again, these two are a very straight questions. You have to first question you have to go, 17th question you have to go ahead and answer what is corporate veil and what are the instances where a corporate veil can be lifted. 18th question, doctrine of indoor management, exceptions, knowledge of irregularity, suspicion of irregularity, forgery. These three are the exceptions. You have to write them. Clear? So that is something which is a very very straight question. So I think one second. Yeah, Naveen incorporated on OPC, making his sister Navita as a nominee. Navita is leaving India permanently due to her marriage abroad. Due to this fact, she is withdrawing her consent on nomination. Taking into the consideration, answer the questions below. If Navita is leaving India permanently, is it mandatory for her to withdraw the nomination? If Navita maintained the status of resident India after her marriage, then can she continue her nomination? Yes, friends.
Ma'am, if Navita is leaving India permanently, then she should withdraw her consent because she should be a citizen of India and should be a citizen of India to be a nominee of a one-person company.
Okay.
And if she India itself after the marriage, then she can continue as a one-person as a nominee of a one-person
company. If she is a resident in India, second question க்கு பாரு கண்ணா, அவங்க சொல்லிருக்கிறது she is she will be in India, resident in India ன்னு தான் சொல்லிருக்காங்க. அப்ப ரெசிடென்ட்ஷிப்னா சிட்டிசன்ஷிப்பும் she is still holding னு தான் அர்த்தம். ஏனா she is by nature itself she is a citizen in India now, and if she is a resident after marriage, okay, in such case then she will hold the residentship status as well. Yes, any other answer? I've got one answer. Any other answer, friends? Let me pick up. Anirudh.
Yes, ma'am. Even I was thinking about the same thing. Since she was leaving India, she has to stay in India to be nominated in the one-person company.
Okay.
But status of a resident of India. So even if she is leaving abroad, she is still a resident of India. You mean, ma'am?
No. She will be in abroad, but 6 months she's a resident status. She is complying.
Okay.
In that case,
Ma'am, here the second means, ma'am, what I'm saying, is it right? That only I'm asking.
I'll tell you. 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yes, Anirudh. See, in your OPC, a very, very important point to be remembered is he shall be a citizen in India and a resident. Okay, this is applicable in case of a member and a nominee. So your answer is right, Kadama. You are more confident enough, and your answer is right. If she is leaving permanently, she has to withdraw her consent. But if she is maintaining the status of resident in India, then she can continue her nomination until she holds Indian citizenship. Wherever country la poi andha urra citizenship edutha, done. Even though she is a resident, she will not get through. Correct? Fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let us check the answer. Let us see what the answer they have given up. Yes, it is mandatory to withdraw her OPC nomination as she is leaving India permanently, and only a natural person who is a citizen in India and resident in India shall be a nominee of OPC. Second, she can continue her nomination if she maintains the status of resident of India after marriage by staying in India during her immediately preceding financial year. Clear, friends? Right? You can also write this. If Navita is maintaining a resident status, but later she is getting citizenship abroad, then she cannot continue as a member in the OPC. Fine? So, nominee and member both should be resident and citizen of India. Okay, examine whether they are correct or incorrect with the following reasons. A company, being an artificial person, cannot own a property and cannot sue or be sued. Whether it is correct?
False, ma'am.
False.
It can
Incorrect. Company can own property in its own name, can sue and be sued. It is an artificial legal juristic person. Okay. A private limited company must have a minimum of 2 members, while public must have at least 7 members. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. True, ma'am.
அதுல நீங்க explanation கூட கொடுக்கலாம். Private minimum 2, maximum 200. Public minimum 7, maximum unlimited. That explanation you can give. Briefly explain the doctrine of ultra virus. What are the consequences of ultra virus? Ultra virus means beyond the powers. Okay, anything which goes beyond the powers of the person, of the company, is regarded as void. You will have to go ahead and explain the case Ashbury Railway Carriage versus Rich. Okay, you will have to explain the case Ashbury Railway Carriage versus Hitch. Yaradu? Someone is stopping me? Right. So this is what is with regard to your company law. Take a 5-minute break, friends. We'll come back. We'll come back by 8. We'll discuss about LLP. Let us go on with the next topic, which is on limited liability partnership. So we are going to discuss the questions with regard to limited liability partnership, friends. This legislation is very, very simple, easy to understand, and you don't have much of changes in LLP. So what are the stuffs which you have to remember with regard to LLP? Let me give you a quick gist, okay? The first thing is limited liability partnership. LLP has 81 sections and 4 schedules. Okay, there was an act, it was enacted on 31st of March 2009. Act was in 2008, but the existence of the section came in the year 2009. Number one. Second thing, LLP requires minimum 2 partners, and I need minimum of 2 designated partners. The designated partners must only be individual. Partners can be individual or any other form of entity also, but designated partners should be only individual. Number one, it is a fusion of company and partnership. It is a fusion of the advantages of a company and of the partnership. So it has a benefit of a separate legal entity. The liability of the partners are limited. In case of fraud alone, the liability extends to be unlimited. Okay, and a very important stuff to be noted out is with regard to an LLP is limited liability partnership. The name of the LLP will end with the word limited liability partnership or with the acronym LLP. Okay, or with the acronym LLP. So it is an artificial person. Registration is mandatory. Friends, please understand, in case of LLP, registration is mandatory. So you cannot go ahead and give it as an optional stuff. Unlike your partnership registration is optional. But in case of LLP, registration is mandatory. It is a corporate which is having a perpetual succession. Okay, it is a corporate which is having a perpetual succession. It can be sued and be sued. Okay, and when you incorporate an LLP, you need minimum of 2 partners and 2 designated partners. Reserve the name through your LLP facility. Then you will have to file something called as a FILIP. Okay, FIL LLP. So through that form, you will have to go ahead and incorporate an LLP. Like your partnership deed, LLP also something has called as an LLP agreement. LLP agreement should be filed within 30 days from the date of incorporation. If there is no agreement between the partners, it shall be governed under Schedule 1 of the Act. Okay, then designated partners, I've told you they must be individuals. I need one person who is a resident in India, which means he has stayed 182 days or more in the preceding year. And a person who has consented to act as a designated partner, the consent shall be filed within 30 days from his date of appointment. He will be liable for any penal provisions with regard to compliance aspects and so on. If there is any default in compliance or stuff, designated partner will be liable. So all you have to remember with regard to LLP is what is the distinction between the term LLP and company, LLP and partnership firm. Because in case of an LLP, registration is compulsory, partnership firm registration is optional, company registration is compulsory. LLP liability of the members is limited, partnership joint and several in nature, company is also unlimited but limited, and in case of an unlimited company, the liability of the members becomes unlimited only in such case, but usually the liability of members in a company is limited. LLP is a separate legal entity, partnership firm is not a separate legal entity, company is a separate legal entity. Okay, company and LLP are created by law, but LLP partnership firm is created by an agreement. Agreement can be in written or in an oral form. Okay, minimum I have 2 partners in case of LLP, maximum there is no limit. In case of a partnership firm, minimum 2, maximum 50. Okay, every year LLP is required to file an annual return, statement of solvency and annual account statement. But in case of partnership, annual documentation filing is sufficient, but not much of compliance aspects to be followed upon. Okay, can foreign nationals become a partner in LLP? Yes, foreign nationals can become a partner in LLP, but not in partnership form. Minor cannot be admitted in LLP, but minor can be admitted as a partner for benefits in partnership firm. LLP is a body corporate, partnership firm is not a body corporate. Right, Schedule 1 will be with regard to agreements. If in case of absence of agreement, will be followed under Schedule 1 of the Act. Schedule 2 is conversion of firm into LLP. Schedule 3 is conversion of private limited company to LLP. Schedule 4 is for conversion of unlisted public companies to LLP. These are the crux of LLP. I would go upon and stress it to you. Now, coming up with the question, what do you mean by designated partner? Whether it is mandatory to appoint a designated partner? Yes, designated partners are partners who are taking care or they are involved in the day-to-day affairs of the LLP. For a person to be appointed as a designated partner, such person should possess a designated partners identification number or DPIN. Okay, whether it is mandatory to appoint designated partner? Yes, it is mandatory to appoint. Suppose if a designated partner is not appointed, then the partners of such LLP will continue to be the designated partners until you go ahead and appoint someone as a designated partner exclusively. Or there are two partners. Two partners appoint only one designated partner. Minimum, I need two designated partners. Even in that case, both the partners will now serve as a designated partner until a new designated partner is being appointed. Right? Designated partner should be a resident in India 182 days or more. Designated partner, only individual can be a designated partner. So these are some of the stuffs with regard to designated partner. Let us check upon what the institute has given out. So LLP shall have two designated partners who are individuals. At least one of them shall be a resident in India. Body corporate, so at least two individuals who are partners of such nominees shall act as a designated partner. Resident in India. Okay. Whatever I've given as an additional, you can also write that. That is also not a problem. Right? So I think we have done with this question on LLP. What is the meaning of limited liability partnership? State the various characteristics of it. You need to write what an LLP is, what are the features, separate legal entity, limited liability, perpetual succession, easy formation, all these stuffs you will have to write with regard to characteristics. Let us just quickly check out what the characteristics are. Look at this. So you are just writing the meaning of the term LLP, what I have given it to you. Okay, it's a combination between partnership and all these things. LLP is a body corporate, perpetual succession, separate legal entity, mutual agency is there. Yes, of course. LLP agreement, artificial person, common seal, it's actually optional now. Limited liability, management of the business is taken care by the designated partners. Partners are the owners of the LLP. Okay, there is no maximum number on the limit of partners. Look at this. This is something which is very, very interesting, friends. Of course, conversion can happen. Compromise and arrangement. I don't think you need to write on compromise and arrangement because it is very lucid at this stage to write about compromise and arrangement. But still, you can go ahead and write down these features. They have actually given a lot. Okay, so you can just write around. If maximum, they may ask a question for 8 marks. If they ask a question for 8 marks, you can write maximum 10 features. That's sufficient. Okay, so who are the individuals who shall not be capable of becoming a partner of LLP? Who are the individuals?
Ma'am, a minor, ma'am.
Very good.
Minors, ma'am.
A person of unsound mind. A person of unsound mind. A person who has been disqualified by law.
Disqualified by law in the sense?
He has been. I'm not sure how to explain that.
Person with any criminal records, ma'am.
Person with any criminal records are?
Ma'am, that is disqualified by law. If he is anywhere like doing some illegal stuff, then he can't join an LLP, right?
Okay. Criminal records. Huh?
Not a resident of India, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, okay, fine. But please understand, friends, here you have to give only 3 instances, okay? Person of unsound mind, you are correct. Okay, number 1, person who is found to be of an unsound mind by a competent court. Okay, number 2, undischarged insolvent. Okay, undischarged insolvent cannot become a partner. Number 2. So, number 2, undischarged insolvent means he has been adjudicated by the court as insolvent. Court has declared him as insolvent and his official assignees are recovering his assets. So at that point of time, he is called as an undischarged insolvent. So he cannot enter into a LLP agreement. Number 3, who has applied to the court to be adjudged as insolvent. Who has applied to the court to be adjudged as insolvent. Clear? Only these 3 you have to write. The next
Okay,
question.
we
What
done the
are
last one, ma'am.
Enema?
Last one, ma'am. Who has been?
Who has applied to the court to be adjudicated as insolvent.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Now, next one. If what are the effects of registration? Now, in case of effects of registration, LLP can be sued. It can hold, acquire properties. It can have a common seal, and whatever it does an act, the LLP is liable for the acts of such entity. Clear? So this is with regard to these two questions. Now coming up with the next one. What is the procedure for changing the name of LLP under the Limited Liability Partnership Act? Now when you come up with the procedure for change of name, the first thing you have to go ahead and do is you will have to apply for fresh reservation of name. Friends, please understand, whenever you are applying for fresh reservation of name, you will have to ensure that the name of the LLP ends with the word Limited Liability Partnership. Okay. I think some of the stuffs which is very, very important is for change in name, you will have to go ahead and refer to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Ministry of Corporate Affairs will consider. I think this answer which they have given, I wanted to show you this answer. This answer which they have given is not sufficient, friends. They have not given you the change of name. They have just given you whether there is a provision for change of name. I'm not satisfied with this answer particularly. So you will have to go for a resolution. Go ahead, apply for a change of name, then file the necessary forms, and then Ministry of Corporate Affairs will approve. The name of the LLP will be changed. Right? I'm not happy with this answer, so I don't recommend you to look at this answer for change of name. And the question also is too out of your syllabus for asking up at their foundation level. So I don't recommend this particularly. So that's what I wanted to stress upon. Explain the circumstances in which LLP may be wound up by the tribunal. Yes, when I taught you LLP, I told you, I also gave you the circumstances where LLP would be wound up by the tribunal. So please go ahead and mention those circumstances. Okay. What are the instances when the tribunal will wound up? So if the LLP wants to voluntarily close itself, if for a period of more than 6 months the number of partners is reduced, if it is unable to pay off its debts, if they have acted against the sovereignty and integrity of India, LLP has made default in filing the statement of accounts and solvency or annual returns for any consecutive financial year, 5 consecutive financial year, and just an equitable grounds. So these are the instances where an LLP may be wound up. Clear, friends? Yes. So this is with regard to LLP Act. Any other doubts? Please post upon.
Ma'am, I'm going to scroll up, ma'am.
Shashank தானே இது?
Yes, ma'am.
Shashank, நான் ஏற்கனவே இதை நான் உங்களுக்கு கிளாஸ்ல நடத்தியிருக்கேன் கண்ணம்மா. And this is there in your material also.
நான் ஒரே வாட்டி பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கேன்.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Any doubts? Please ask upon, friends. See, I have exhaustively discussed what is given in your revision test papers, questions which is being asked very frequently. We have mostly answered all the questions which is being asked. I request you to please go through them once. For today's class, I will not be posting. Anirudh, I have not given this in our material. Bharadwaj material, tribunal order, winding up circumstances irkadu. While teaching class, I would have asked you to refer this alone in the study material. If you want,
yes ma'am. If you
want, go and recollect. கண்டிப்பா சொல்லி கொடுத்துப்பேன், ஆனா ஸ்டடி மெட்டீரியல்ல பாருன்னு சொல்லிருப்பேன் நான்.
ஆமா ma'am. Yes ma'am.
So the circumstances alone, take it from the study material. Okay, right. So I think with this, most of your questions with regard to LLP and Companies Act is over. இவ்வளவுதான் company lawல கேட்க முடியும், இதுக்கு மேலலாம் கேட்க முடியாது. So be very clear. Something which is being asked again and again. 1 second, friends.
No doubt.
If any of you have doubts, please raise your hands and ask for it, friends. This is the maximum which you have to study. In case of Companies Act, I've told you which are the stuffs you need to study. You need to study definitions of private limited company, small company, subsidiary company, and you need to know the conditions for conversions with regard to OPC. OPC notable points you have to remember. Okay, what is corporate wheel? Lifting of corporate wheel. What is indoor management? Exceptions. What is ultra virus? Doctrine of ultra virus. Constructive notice. You should know what a constructive notice is. Then coming up with some of the case laws. In company law, you will have case laws: Solomon versus Solomon, Royal British Bank versus Turkan, Daimler versus Continental Tire Company. Okay, and then Sir Dinsham and G. Patet. Okay, all these case laws you need to remember, friends. Please spend some time in remembering the case law. Ashbury Railway Carriage versus Rich. I'll tell you the case laws names which you can remember in company law, which I expect you to remember. Okay, Solomon versus Solomon is the first case which I request you to remember, because that is like your Balfour versus Balfour in Contract Act. Okay, remember Solomon versus Solomon company case. Okay, then you need to remember Dinsham and G. Patet. Daimler versus Continental Tire Company, you have to remember. Then Bacha F. Guzdar versus Commissioner of Income Tax. Guilford Motor versus Horn. Okay. Bacha F. Guzdar versus Commissioner of Income Tax. Guilford Motor versus Horn. Horne. Horn. Then you have to remember case laws with regard to charter documents, which is on Ashbury Railway Carriage versus Rich. Okay. Morris versus Keyneson. Morris versus Keyneson. Royal British Bank versus Turkan. Royal British Bank versus Turkan. Erlanger versus New Sombro Phosphate Company. Erlanger versus New Sombro Phosphate Company. So these are the cases which you have to remember. Okay. Apart from this LLP, you don't have case laws name. LLP, you just need to know who is a designated partner, who is a partner, what is an LLP agreement, what are the features and incorporations with regard to LLP. This is what it is. If you have any doubts, you can stay back. Otherwise, you can leave the class, friends. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Yeah, fine. If you have any doubts, you can stay back. Otherwise, you can leave the class. Thank you so much, friends.